Well. You're inside of the That's Good Broncos podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. I'm Brendan Perna, here with Will Keys. We're okay. We're trying to figure out this Broncos team that is just being decimated by injuries after a weird loss last week. They take the loss to the Steelers today in a game they had a chance to win at the very end. So it's weird because this game felt just like the movie Misery to me. Just like our legs were broken and they kept getting re-broken by Kathy Bates so we could never leave. But for some reason, the Broncos hung in there through all the pain with backup Jeff Driskel in the game, had a chance to win it. So it's like I can't remember feeling optimistic after a game that made me feel so horrible for such long periods. Is that a fair way to maybe describe it, Will?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. It got to the point sort of in the third quarter where I was just kind of ready to let the darkness wash over me.
Yes.
And I was like, well, if we're going to be bad, let's just be bad. I don't want to have to worry about it for a while. But they come back, and then it's frustrating too because, you end up with a 3rd and 2 down to 5, and naturally you throw 2 straight passes on 3rd and 2 as you're trying to, leave very little time on the clock plus a touchdown. 2 straight weeks, excellent time management. But, yeah, I mean, overall, today was a cursed day in Denver sports. And, I'm not a Nuggets fan, but you get the injury to Drew Lock's shoulder, Cortland Sutton, something happens to his knee. We'll keep an eye on that. And then to top it off, Anthony Davis drives a stake through the Nuggets' hearts and nails the game-winning 3 in Game 2. We got to talk about football, but just kind of looking at the totality of it today, a rough one, to say the very least, a rough one.
Yeah, very, very rough. You mentioned the Broncos at the end of the game, 3rd and 2. They call back-to-back passing plays, which, like, if you're just talking about it, doesn't sound horrible. But watching the game, I was so perplexed why they didn't run it on 3rd and 2. Or 4th and 2 for that matter. But like Melvin Gordon was having a pretty good game. He got stuffed a couple times, but he had 70 yards, 3.7 per carry. Royce Freeman only got 3 carries, but he had 20 yards and 6.7 yards per carry. So just by those maths, that kind of maths of averages, you would convert 3rd and 2 possibly. Or it's like the Broncos didn't have an easy play for Jeff Driskel in that situation. So maybe you're just not really mentally ready to try to call a solid play there with your backup quarterback. Maybe you don't trust him. Maybe I don't know what the fucking excuse is. But the final play stung so much. And this might be on Melvin Gordon. I don't know. But they let it wasn't Watt that came off the edge. I forget who even
It was a corner. It might have been Hilton or Nelson or Sutton or one of those guys.
They had somebody blitzing, and Melvin Gordon didn't even acknowledge that the guy was coming. I don't know if it's his responsibility, like, to pick up the blitz, but whatever happened there, nobody picked up the edge rusher from the notoriously edge rushy Steelers who bring blitzes at you. In that situation, you would think that would be on the radar somewhere. And that, beyond like just, maybe not giving a handoff in that situation, that is what really bothered me.
Right.
It's I don't know. Obviously, we're just 2 people watching the game from our couch, but I felt like that's something they should have seen coming.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed watching the game to me like Driskel either didn't have the ability or didn't quite know how to check out of bad plays. So it felt like the box got stacked with him a lot because like either they were blitzing or they're just selling out to stop the run game and saying, let's let this guy try to beat us with his arm, which he, to his credit, did quite a few times. But there are a few times where, he kind of led Melvin Gordon into a swarm of Steelers defenders. And then other times where, maybe if it's Drew Lock, maybe he has the ability to check into a run on 3rd and 2, or, he recognizes the blitzer coming off the edge. But I don't know, it makes me think about, because the Steelers lost their quarterback in week 2 last year.
Right.
And they played 2 quarterbacks for, 15 and a half games, 14 and a half games, something like that. It's too late for math. But what they did is they put their quarterbacks in really good spots to succeed. And they did things that made life really easy for them, whether it was have a package with a lot of like wildcat and then just a bunch of screen passes and bubble passes and just really high percentage throws. I think Driskel is better too than Mason Rudolph or Duck Hodges, either one really. So I think he's more capable, but I think the Broncos put a lot on him at the end of the game, where if they could just kind of get him some easy throws, like a few swing passes even, it felt like, they could have just swung the ball out to Melvin Gordon a couple times for a few quick yards just to slow down the pass rush. And they kept, Pat Shurmur's offense is all about taking shots downfield, and this was not the game to do it because you can't take shots downfield and get your quarterback killed 7 times because they got 7 times.
Yeah,
or they got sacked 7 times. You can't do that with that kind of pass rush and really a swinging gate at right tackle.
Yeah, those are all fair points. They never, to my recollection, deployed 2 right tackles at the same time, like I have begged for basically the last 4 years. Melvin Gordon showed he has some nice hands. His touchdown grab was wide receiver-like down the right sideline. Driskel, maybe they have a better plan for him this next week to maybe try and play to whatever his strengths are. I'm not going to pretend like I really know. Like I watched him a little bit with Detroit last year, him and David Blau. I remember David Blau playing well very early, but Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges, those are 2 perfectly named quarterbacks for the Steel City. When you think about it, it
really is.
Not to like go off on a tangent, which I think we could right there. But when you were saying all those really good points, I just kept thinking about, I need to take a second to tell Will like we should work in, but that we shouldn't work in a Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges joke if they're not playing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know what our new corporate overlords think about tangents. I feel like, they might be all about efficiency, but then again, it's 9:40 where you are, 8:30 or 8:40 where I am. You can't expect us to focus this late at night.
No.
It's Duck
here's
Hodges,
I do have a solid question for you, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Drew Lock was only in for like a series and a half. He had 5 passing attempts, only had 1 completion on those attempts. I think the one thing you mentioned him, maybe checking out of plays, doing a little more pre-snap. Also more mobile than Jeff Driskel. I don't doubt he would have avoided some sacks just based on his athleticism. And I think watching Drew Lock last week and then the short time this week, he can move. He can get out of hairy situations, and It's not like a fluke. It's like that's part of his game. But my question for you is, do you think he would have played much better than Jeff Driskel in this game had he stayed healthy for the whole thing?
That's a really good question. That's something I was thinking about because at the time that Drew Lock got injured, he was, I think, 1 for 5 for 20 yards.
20 yards.
And I think Jerry Jeudy had a drop early on.
Yeah, it wasn't a great throw. Yeah, it wasn't a great throw, but it was a drop. The announcers gave Jeudy shit they're like, you got to catch all of those types of passes. So, but right. I know when you're talking about.
Yeah, so honestly, early on, it looked like he was in for a rough day.
Yeah, he looked a little unsettled, I guess.
He did. Yeah, and and it's unfair because you go out, you get injured when the score is 0-0, and you still take the loss for the whole day, regardless of what happens after. Yeah. I mean, that feels kind of unfair, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, because Drew Lock was 5-1 heading into this season, and now he's 5-3 with the 2, or 4-1. Now he's 4 and.
Yeah, he's 4-3 now.
4-3 now. Yeah, that's even worse. Fuck, we don't want that.
No, and it feels like he didn't deserve a loss last week, although, it's more fair because he played the full game. Takes the loss this week. I feel like they should judge losses kind of like they do in baseball for pitchers. Or like if you come in, if you leave in the, you have a lead after 6 innings and the reliever blows it, the reliever gets the loss.
Yeah, it should be for that one stat, whoever takes the most snaps.
Yes, I agree.
Or plays the majority of time.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good way to look at it, and we're going to have a chat with the league office.
Yeah, I'll call them tomorrow. Yep. I'll get you on the conference call.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we need to talk about with them. But regardless, I think it's hard to put the loss on Driskel too, because he played really, really well under short notice against what everyone's been calling the best defense in the league. I don't know if I'm there yet, but they have a pretty ferocious pass rush.
Yeah.
He had to play, like I said, swinging gate at right tackle. So that's a lot of it's a lot of pressure on him, and he did so well, I think, given the circumstances. Who knows if it holds up when teams get a little more tape on him.
Yeah.
But that's the life of a backup quarterback, and because I want to ask you again, like I asked you last week, like what are your positives that you can take away from this? And I think Driskel actually was.
Yeah.
What's a positive?
I don't think anybody should walk away from that game shitting on Driskel.
No. Although early on, just kind of combing through Twitter, it was a lot of Driskel sucks, Driskel's unwatchable. Well, how did John Elway not come up with a better backup quarterback this offseason? Sign Kaepernick. Knew that was coming.
Right.
Sign Cam Newton. All that bullshit.
Yeah, Cam would have been a backup.
Driskel, he was fine. And then at the end of the game, you look at Driskel's numbers and you get the same people on Twitter going, Driskel's better than Drew Lock. I'm not kidding. This is the attention of people on Twitter and why you shouldn't have a Twitter, really.
Somebody on Twitter, I think it was yesterday, they responded to 3 or 4 of my tweets, and some of them were old. And then he sent a tweet that said, I can't remember why I subscribed to this account. There is absolutely nothing of value here. Unsubbing. Bye. It's like, okay, man. Who's really providing any value on Twitter anyway?
No, it's in terms of value, it's a black hole. It's not just negative. Yeah. It sucks up all value into a vacuum and then explodes it, makes your brain worse.
And just to be clear too, because somebody else tagged me in something saying they couldn't stand Broncos Twitter. and it was like me. I think Andrew Mason was tagged in there, who's usually pretty.
Well, join the club first of all.
Yeah, a couple other people, and they're like Broncos media are way too reactionary. Everything is something, and I was like, well, that's the point. It's like the fun of tweeting during a game is like when your team does something good, it's the best thing on earth, and when it's bad, it's like the worst thing on earth. You can have logical discussions and shit afterwards, but like to me, I enjoy riding that fucking roller coaster on Twitter. So when Ojemudia makes a couple good plays early, I say he's looking pretty good, and then things turn for the worse. Like I'm rewatching some of the game for tomorrow's episode, and his dropped interception
changed the game.
Really bad. Also, the following play, he misses the tackle on Juju Smith-Schuster that goes for the first down on 3rd and 10. Like he's trying to strip the ball instead of tackling him, which cost him. And then I rewatched the Chase Claypool 84-yard touchdown, and that one's maybe the worst because Claypool does push off of him. I understand why he's frustrated, but he goes like this to the ref.
Yeah.
Like, he looks at the ref like this, and he slows down
because he thinks Claypool is running past him.
He thinks Claypool's falling out of bounds, and he's not. And then as he realizes Claypool starts to go, he just eats shit. So it is like if you're – and I don't want to be too hard on him because he is a rookie. He's getting thrown in here. But those are mistakes a professional football player shouldn't be making. Like he shouldn't – a rookie especially shouldn't be looking to the ref for a call mid-play. Like, you should be too scared to fuck up to doing that. And his action of doing that set up the touchdown because he could have made the tackle if he didn't slow himself down. So it was frustrating. I didn't want to be hard on him, but, like, I don't know how not to after I started to rewatch kind of what happened. Because my knock was going to be he also looks like he doesn't wrap up when he tackles. He leads with his shoulder a lot. And early it worked for him because he knocked the guy out of bounds. But I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even on that play where he knocked him out of bounds, it looked like Juju Smith-Schuster was about to recover almost. And then regain his footing and run for a first down. Yeah, I mean, I asked you for positives, and naturally
I started talking about Twitter.
About the worst player on the field today. Yeah, but no, it was really hard to watch because it looked like there were just a million little button hooks that the Steelers ran today right in front of him. And after the Claypool pass, he was just so worried about not getting burned down the sideline again that he was giving up a ton of cushion. And the Steelers took advantage of it, whether it was, Smith-Schuster or Diontae Johnson. And then Diontae Johnson eventually burns him for another touchdown. Ben, I feel like I've seen that same exact throw by Roethlisberger 50,000 times where he's, like, rolling out and launches it to the end zone, and the ball, like, just dies perfectly into the receiver's arms. He made that same exact throw in the AFC Championship game back in 2005. Yeah. Maybe we'll just, like, clip them together, and it's crazy, like, how he still does that. But yeah, Ojemudia, rough game, and I feel bad for him because, like, there's an alternate universe where he has 2 interceptions already this season.
Yeah,
and maybe get some confidence from that, and doesn't get torched. But I mean, this is bound to happen because you lose AJ Boye, and then. Okay, Ben Roethlisberger sees I have Bryce Callahan on one side, who I think was pretty good today, not having really delved into the game or anything. And then, okay, I've got a rookie on the other side. Of course, the veteran quarterback who has a really good relationship with his receivers is going to target the rookie on the outside all day long. So it's tough because he played poorly, but he was put in a situation to fail.
In a really tough situation. I guess it makes me wonder. I don't know if Bosby was activated for this game, or if he.
I didn't see him.
I didn't see him on the field ever. It just makes me wonder how the coaching decision of knowing that Bosby was playing well in games last year.
Yeah.
What's different now where they don't think that? And given he had a serious neck injury. So, like, I don't know if that's affected his body at all or
his willingness to tackle maybe.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I'm not saying I know more than the coaches, but I would like to know why you don't have him out there if you see a guy like Mudiay struggling. The one thing that seems similar to Vic Fangio as when they had Kubiak and there was all those struggles at right tackle and it just felt like they were being too stubborn to change anything. Fangio feels like a little stubborn to change things in games. Like it takes him like a week too long to maybe make an adjustment or something. I remember watching like Yadam get burned last year and like, are you going to help him? Or are you going to do something different? And it was like, no, just let the guy play, man. Not that Fangio sounds like an old hippie. Just let the guy play, man. But I don't know. It's
let the good times roll, man. No, I mean, there's something to leaving a guy in there to take his lumps, I think, and develop. Like, say, if Drew Lock had a tough start to the season, obviously, like, you're just like, okay, well, he's hitting a rough patch. He's just going to have to work his way through it. Like, things will get better. Hopefully, he learns something from the experience and makes it through to the other side. You know, it's a test of his toughness, too. But when you have a situation like Elijah Wilkinson is like, he's sabotaging the offense more or less from his inability to stop really anyone on the right side. And, you know, maybe if you plug in Dotson, for example,
right,
Driskel's got a little more time back there. And instead of 7 sacks, there's like, 4. And the offense runs a little more smoothly. But, yeah, I mean, this doesn't seem like a regime that's especially going to make changes in game. And when you think about, like, what you said about Kubiak, one of his most famous coaching decisions is, like, his Week 17 against the Chargers in-game change, where he takes out Brock Osweiler.
Fair enough.
Which literally changes the course of history.
Right.
Football history, sports history, world history. Not only does he do that, like he takes out Schofield too and puts in Tyler Columbus, which I thought it was funny because Tyler Columbus was tweeting about putting in DeMar Dotson. I was like, he was probably on the sideline just fucking heated that Michael Schofield was giving up 15 sacks to Khalil Mack, and he was standing there holding his offensive line clipboard.
Yeah. Remind me, what was that? What I want to talk about after I do this read? I don't know. I'll figure it out. But here's a great transition into our mid-roll ad for DraftKings. Tired of watching the Broncos losing? How about you do some winning of your own? They didn't give me that line to read either, Will. That's just me winging it.
That's riffing, baby.
Winging it, riffing it all the way. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new users the chance to turn $1 into how many?
5 million.
No, Will. 10? $100.
Hold on. Let me do the math. That's a factor of 100.
Yes. Is $100 now like $20? It feels like $100 isn't that much anymore.
No, I mean, I think about inflation all the time and how I could have I could have bought a house with like a week's salary back in, like 1986.
Yeah.
But I think $100, especially if it's coming from DraftKings, is, it's a good amount of money.
It's a nice thing to have.
It's a nice sum.
If you turn $1 into $100 by betting on any team, if that team wins, you cash that money. That's a good deal. And if football isn't for you, DraftKings is giving all of you MMA fans the same great offer to use for this weekend's UFC 253. That's got to be on a Fight Island somewhere, right? They still doing Fight Island in UFC? I don't know. Anyway, DraftKings is safe, reliable, secure, and you can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get this can't-miss offer. Pick any team during week 3. Bet $1 on them and win $100. If they win, that's $1 to $100 when you use promo code DNVR during the sign-up. If I would have known I was going to be repeating this, I probably would have done the part before this just a slight bit differently, but too late now. For a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
You know
Boom. I am so good at those now. DraftKings. I'm your favorite spokesman. Just admit it.
They have to have like 50,000, right? How many ad reads do you think?
Oh, I don't know. In Colorado, a ton. It's like with sports betting legal here, it's like huge right now.
Yeah, they're everywhere. So good for them, and thank you for sponsoring this show, DraftKings.
Of course. Okay. Positive.
Use your service regularly.
You wanted me to give you a positive. I know it's limited, but KJ Hamler, I think, looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, so did Jerry Jeudy.
Judy looked.
Yeah, he missed a couple.
He looked good last week though too. So
he did. Yeah.
But, okay, I'll give Judy this. He also took a pretty brutal shot. I think had some sort of rib injury, and then returned to the game because at one point, Cortland Sutton's leaving with an injury. You see Jerry Jeudy get hurt. Drew Lock's already out. Phillip Lindsay's already out. You're like, what else is going to go wrong? But like Hamler, that was his first game. 3 receptions, 48 yards. So, like, nothing crazy, but it just looked like once he gets more opportunities, he'll be a playmaker. Sutton's injury is unfortunate, but
Sutton looked like he just, he caught that after the Claypool touchdown. Driskel goes deep to Sutton. Sutton looks like he has like a step or two and goes down.
Also tripped.
Almost the ghost of Eric Decker. Wreaking havoc on the 2020 team.
Tripping them up all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was unfortunate, but KJ Hamler, I'm honestly a little surprised. Like, I think, when you see a rookie miss a lot of training camp in the first game, you're like, okay, how much is he really going to contribute this season? But you put him out there, and it's clear that, like, immediately he's a tough guy to match up with.
Yeah, he's going to provide mismatches. And then I think that the other thing is Noah Fant, for the second week in a row, just looks like the best offensive player the Broncos have.
Yeah. Despite getting 0 targets, despite going like 2 halves with really no targets.
It's like, how come he's not – he should be involved with every drive, I feel like. I guess however much George Kittle and Travis Kelce are used, that should be the target for the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, you watch how the Chiefs use Travis Kelce, and there's so many just like 9-yard little hitches where he's always wide open. And it feels like the Broncos could do that with all the speed they have at wide receiver too. He just looks like a man out there, and he's improved so much. Like, kind of, in a year where nothing's really gone according to plan for this team, everyone was expecting him to step up, and like he did really get better through these first 2 games, despite 2 halves of kind of inactivity. But he looked good, and he was doing it against Devin Bush too, which is the other thing, because those guys are obviously
always connected
together at this point, and I'm just
it was the better pick.
It looked good. It looked good.
Better pick.
That trade too, so
good job, John Elway. Guess who's not afraid to prop Elway up? Will and I.
Us. We'll do it.
Okay. The negative, though. Maybe this is me. I thought special teams looked atrocious.
Really bad. Really bad. I mean, we spent so much time talking about Slam and Sam.
It was the coverage units It was the return units. It was the punt team. And, like, I'm not going to knock the Gooch Slayer missing a 58-yard field goal.
Yeah.
But then when I watch Harrison Butker kick a 58-yard game winner for the Chiefs, I'm just like, the good team.
But for some reason, it's not possible to hit long field goals in Pittsburgh. I don't know why. I think it's their surface. But
Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm never – like, the Gooch Slayer is – he hits everything inside 50. That's kind of his job. And maybe he'll split the uprights
like
from further out.
50-50 outside of 50, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we got to play to his strengths more.
Yeah, I mean, he has the leg. Like I said, I'm not knocking him for it, but when you're talking about a good football team, it's just like they convert on those plays. Like they just get the points there. You don't even think about it. 58-yarder, yeah, fuck yeah, do it. They're going to get the points. Like what?
No, I mean, to your point, literally, you take those two plays, you get a field goal, that's 3 points. Take away the safety, that's 2 points. The Broncos lost by 5 points.
And that the Sam Martin safety, because he fumbles the snap to him, just a mistake. But the reason the Broncos were backed up there was because they tried to return a kick deep in the end zone and got tackled like on the 9-yard line or some shit.
Yeah, that seemed like KJ Hamler. I believe it was KJ Hamler.
Yeah, it was Hamler with lead blocker Diontae Spencer. Like, why are both those guys back there?
I've never understood the two returners thing.
Pick your best returner and get two guys ahead of him that could fucking block.
Like, give him a chance. Andrew back out there.
Yeah, because Spencer totally whiffed, or didn't even have time to really. I think Spencer thought Hamler was going to knee it. And
I mean, I don't blame Diontae Spencer. If I'm 5'7" out there,
no, he shouldn't be
running into anybody. Yeah.
It was, and the Steelers returned a punt for a touchdown. It got called back because of blocking the back. Like, the special teams could have been worse, and they were pretty bad. So that's like I'm tired. I'm so tired with talking about the Broncos and all of the little things that had them so close to winning the game, but they didn't do it right. I just want every week to be like when they played Houston last year. That's the last time I felt good start to finish about a Broncos game in, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, it feels like.
No, you're absolutely right. And here's the thing. We talked about, and a lot of people talked about this too, and it's a big thing in the nerd analytics community that, if you had a bunch of close losses one year, that luck's going to even out. Okay, maybe it's not just luck, and maybe they're not good in one-score games. Maybe that's like a skill you have to acquire, and it's not just a toss of the coin.
Yeah,
it's about experience and making the right coaching decisions, and executing on the little things. It's not just like, it's not chance. And I hate that why when people say like, oh, they were so good in close games, so they can't do that again. It's like, no, there's something to that. The Chiefs. It feels like, when the Chiefs are on offense and they need a field goal at the end of the game, like they're just getting it.
Yeah, it happened.
And it's not, maybe they get it, maybe they don't. They're getting it because they do it every time, and they have the right players and they know what to do, and they make the right decisions. And they have a guy like Harrison Butker who you can rely on to tie the game, and a guy like Patrick Mahomes you can rely on to get the ball into field goal range. Yeah,
it's the Chiefs had to do that today because they didn't play well, but they got the touchdown late. And with the Broncos too, when they have gotten the late game scores to take the lead, all of a sudden the defense just can't get a stop.
Right.
Doesn't matter if there's 20 seconds on the clock or 2 minutes. The defense can't stop the team before they get into field goal range. So it is all those things. And I think like the Broncos are right now, they are a young team, and there are a lot of good players on the team. And obviously not even thinking about the quarterback because that changes everything, but they're just not a good team yet. So you can have all these good players, which they do have, and they just have to figure out how to execute at the highest level consistently. and not just at flashes at different points in the games. Because that's also kind of what it feels like. They'll get before Drew Lock got hurt, Melvin Gordon probably got the majority of his rushing yards on that drive.
Yeah, like 44 before, or something close to that. By the time
it was like 3 runs in a row from him. They were all great. They're in the red zone. Melvin Gordon leaves because I think he needs to catch his breath. And then they just take a shot in the end zone. It's like, why not just keep running it until they stop you? Like, you are owning them on this right now. And then they run it and get 3, and then they're in 3rd and 7, and then Drew Lock gets hurt. So it's just, you can question all that shit. But if I'm a coach and I've just run 3 runs in a row and they have all been very successful, I'm going to keep doing that until it does not work. Yeah, unless I know I have a great play where play action is going to set up an easy throw for my quarterback, and that's not what happened at all. So I don't know.
Yeah, and thinking about it and just kind of connecting the dots a little bit here, Pat Shurmur had a rookie quarterback last year, and he got his quarterback hurt because they didn't have a good offensive line, and the Shurmur offense prioritizes taking shots. And like I said earlier, it's a bad combination. And that was the case today, especially against a really good pass rush. They weren't throwing quick throws for the most part. They were taking shots downfield. It's like, okay, maybe it was just kind of a matter of time before the quarterback got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, quick throws to Judy and Hamler, I'll take that all day at this point.
Right. It feels like easy yards.
I mean, yeah. There was one more thing I had in my head.
Justin Simmons. He was a positive.
What's that?
Justin Simmons. He was a positive.
Oh, yeah. Justin Simmons was great.
One-handed interception.
One-handed interception. He batted a pass down. I think Malik Reed had the other batted pass. Your old schoolmate.
Yes. My classmate. Drill Casey batted a pass down for the 2nd week in a row.
Oh, maybe it was Casey and not Malik Reed.
Yeah, I think Casey's got 3 within 2 weeks.
Oh. Here's something that happened. What's that?
We're just listing things that happen at this point, but we kind of have to. Shelby Harris fumble.
James Conner had 106 yards. Didn't know that.
What?
Didn't feel like he had 106. Just like didn't feel like Derrick Henry had 116 last week. So
didn't feel like Travis Henry had 23 kids. But he did.
I found the. All right, I didn't find the stat. I just put it together that Antonio Cromartie and Phillip Rivers were on the same team at the same time. And together they do total 23 kids, or 23. Yeah, he has that's incredible. He has 14, and I think Rivers has 9. So my idea for the next shirt I want to do is just going to say Rivers, and then the I is a sperm. I think we got to make that a thing that we sell.
Oh man, I think that No,
maybe if you're looking at it from a distance, you think it's a river, but then you get close and you see it's just a sperm.
Yeah, no, the Chargers fans are gonna buy those in mass.
Yeah,
like 6 shirts will probably get sold.
I'm mad that we didn't capitalize on having Locke, Carr, Rivers, and Mahomes. And doing a shirt with Locke, a Mahomes, a Carr, and a River. Like, there's something there.
Yeah, no, it feels like you're creating like a Sim City right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of AFC West quarterbacks. Yeah, Herbert is really fit.
Yeah, Herbert kind of throws a wrench in it. And Herbert started today. I guess Tyrod Taylor was taken to the hospital for his chest pains. So I don't know what the hell is.
Did he have like a heart? That was strange. I found out, or I read somewhere that Herbert didn't know he was going to start until The tweet said 5 to 10 seconds before kickoff, which I don't know.
That's how I'd want it to happen. Like
it seems like a panic attack kind of thing from Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, it might have been. And the best way to not give your rookie quarterback a panic attack is to tell him 5 seconds before the game that he's starting. Like, you don't have any time to think about it. Yeah,
optimistically, maybe this was like a revolutionary coaching strategy from Anthony Lynn.
Maybe.
Like, yeah, he doesn't get to prepare for the game, but also he doesn't have to stress out the night before.
Yeah.
It's kind of – nor does the opposing team get to prepare for him.
Herbert's second game, you think he looks better or worse?
Depends who they're playing.
Yeah, that's fair. You should have more information to think about.
But to answer your question, I think he'll probably dip a little bit because I think he missed a lot of throws that he should have made, and then made some throws I think that were kind of tough to replicate. I mean, ultimately, I thought he played really, really well against a pretty great defense. They're playing Carolina next week, so my answer to your question is yes.
Better. He will look better.
Or the same. We'll say roughly the same.
The same.
They got Carolina and then Tampa Bay after that. And then Carolina, Tampa Bay, New Orleans.
Yeah,
and the Jets and the Dolphins.
Buccaneers. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh, you never know. Like I don't think the Buccaneers are necessarily world beaters.
I don't think they are either. I just think they have –
Panthers could be bad too.
They just have enough playmakers to beat the Broncos by another 2 points.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to Ojemudia guarding Mike Evans.
Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. Yeah, man, AJ Boye.
Put things together real quick.
That AJ Boye injury really hurts now. I mean, obviously, all of the injuries suck.
AJ Boye injury hurts. There's a train going by. They're just agreeing. The horn is being blown to agree that all these injuries really hurt. I mean, you could just it's like the injury list is like like an old timey scroll that you unfurl and it just drops to your feet and rolls up through the door and just keeps going. That's what it feels like.
It does.
But you know what? They just got to battle like they did today. And maybe they don't, maybe it's a tough season again. I think things are pointing that way. But
I think it's going to be a very tough season.
Don't lay down. I think tanking's for losers. And I like a team that's going to play hard regardless.
Yeah, we learned they were resilient today. And that's not even like a positive spin or twist. It's just a team
they were.
Had a million chances to give up, and they played their ass off the entire time against a pretty good Steelers team. I'm still not sold on the Steelers offense yet, but maybe it'll click at some point. But the Broncos made more of an effort than I would have thought given the circumstances. So, like I said at the very beginning of the podcast, never did I feel so shitty and hopeful in the same game where the feelings of shittiness were long and tough and dark, like you said. I almost went to that dark place too where I was ready to just turn the game off and just watch Red Zone to work on the That's Good sports review of it. And but I didn't. It's like I can't.
I kept trying to, and they just, like the late, great Michael Corleone said in Godfather Part 3, which everyone knows is the best of the trilogy. I keep trying to change it to Red Zone, and they keep pulling me back in.
Exactly.
That's how the quote goes.
And we hope we pull you back in every week here on the That's Good Broncos podcast. Make sure you subscribe on the podcast places, iTunes or wherever the fuck you listen to these.
Podcast.com, I assume.
Podcast.com. We'll probably always be doing a recap of the Broncos game. Then we'll have a mid-ish week pod and the Broncos prediction episodes on Saturday. So that's kind of the schedule here. It'll depend.
We got
I might have to move
predictions on Patreon every week too, if that interests.
NFL predictions on Patreon.
We put those all on the page. So if you're wondering where those went,
that's where they are.
That's where they currently reside.
A lot on our plate here, and we're eating it up. Good night.
Keep on trucking.
Keep on trucking.
Good night and good luck. You did it again. Yes.